Hello and welcome back to the Matrix Green Pill podcast. I'm Hilmarie Hutchison, and today I am so excited to introduce Erika Doyle, the founder of Drink Dry, the GCC's first premium non-alcoholic drinks marketplace. Erika is a trailblazer in the zero-alcohol revolution in the UAE, leading a fast-growing startup that has become a mainstay in the region's retail and hospitality sectors. Her journey from a solo entrepreneur to a recognized leader in the beverage industry showcases her passion for promoting a healthier lifestyle and creating a positive impact in the community. Erika, welcome, and thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for such a kind introduction.
To start off, can you share a bit about yourself, your background, and how you ended up in the UAE?
Where I am today, and when I start talking about my background, everybody's like, at which point does it come together? Because it doesn't sound like it ever should have done. I am from Lithuania originally. And at the age of 16, I moved to the UK to pursue further education. And I was very fortunate. And I went to University of Nottingham, had the most fantastic time there. And I walked away with a degree in history and politics. And then I went to London and I worked in Whitehall as a parliamentary researcher, which I absolutely loved. I was so happy to what I thought was I was one of those lucky people who very early on in their working life have discovered something they love. And I just remember feeling so grateful. I know already at the age of 21 or 22 after university that I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to stay in politics. I absolutely loved it. And then I slightly deviated and went on to work for the Lithuanian embassy in London, where I worked with the kind of the political file. And again, absolutely loved it and enjoyed it and had all my life figured out and all my plans in place. I was going to go and join the diplomatic service back in Lithuania and then kind of, serve my country from then on. And then I met my husband. He's an entrepreneur. He has his own company and things kind of changed and they started taking turns that I hadn't planned in my life. And we ended up marrying and we're still happily married 12 years on. I have 3 beautiful little girls who are 7, 5, and 3. And about almost 6 years ago, we came to Dubai. And we came to Dubai like most expats do for 2 years. No more than 2 years. And I remember saying to my husband, I'm super happy to accompany you with the children to Dubai for 2 years. When I was packing, I packed my summer clothes. I went like I was going on holiday to Dubai. Nothing from a house in the UK. We didn't pack anything. The pictures stayed where they were. The knives and forks, the plates, everything stayed as it was because I was coming back in 2 years' time. And then, like you probably know, you come to Dubai and then you get to enjoy the Dubai lifestyle. You get to enjoy the weather minus the summer. And it makes it really, really difficult to leave. And I think for me, it made it even more difficult because only a year into us living in Dubai as a family, I started Drink Dry. And then I had not only my children were having a fantastic lifestyle here in Dubai, my husband was super happy with his job. I now had something of my own that I was absolutely loving. And then 2 years came and my husband and I never brought the subject up of going back to the UK. And then 3 years came and 4 years. And I think only recently we just acknowledged that, we're staying. So yeah, this is how I kind of ended up in Dubai.
Fantastic. And as you rightly pointed out, it is a pretty typical Dubai story. People coming for a couple of years and end up falling in love with the place and end up making permanent. I also love your background, that you felt so blessed to have discovered your passion and what you love to do so early in life. That is quite unheard of. There's not many people I've heard that had that experience and being so sure about what their life plan was going to be, had everything sort of planned out so well.
When I was 21, 22, the last thing I would have wanted to do is start my own business and be an entrepreneur. I would look at those people and, some of my friends from university, we all graduated and some people got jobs and some people went on graduate schemes and some people started their own businesses. And I would look at them and I think, this is just so difficult and you're making your own life so difficult. I wanted the security, the stability of a salary going in every month, the security of the pensions, just everything that comes with having a job where you work for a government or civil servant. And then, you fast forward and 6 years ago, I decided to start my own business. Completely mad.
That is absolutely incredible. Let me ask you this. How did your early experiences shape your approach to entrepreneurship and business?
I'll tell you one thing. I think I've always had great, fantastic support from my family, always. And I'm one of those examples where I grew up in a really matriarchal family. So imagine this. My grandmother was one of 9 sisters. They had no brothers. She was one of 9 sisters. Every single one of the 9 sisters went on to have girls only. So my mother only has girl cousins. So you can imagine any family gathering, and they were all incredibly strong personalities. They ran the family farms. They ran the family factories. They moved into the big cities and became kind of the big shot doctors and lawyers. They were just absolutely incredible examples for me as a young girl. And I don't know how men coped in that family, but growing up, I was really, again, blessed with real confidence that you can't fake, that is kind of like within you and you can't, I don't know, it was just there. And I think as I went on through my life, to have the guts to leave my home country at 16 and move on my own to a country I've never been to live with the host family for 2 years and then go to university and then go to London. And I've always had believe that I can do anything, because I had these incredible examples of women in my life who had done everything they set their eyes to do. And I think that really, really, really helped me. So when I applied, and believe it or not, I applied for one job after university, went to one interview, and I got that job. Other people applying to hundreds of jobs. I said to myself, and I said to everyone, why would I do that? I am going to do my best applying and I'm going to get that job because I know this is the best job for me. So I've always had this, and it's not arrogance. I've always had belief in myself that if I just work hard enough, if I strive to be the best person in the room, if I prepare, if I lean on other people to support, if I be kind, if I don't step on people's heads, if I do all the things that I've been taught as a child to do, I will succeed. And I think when I started Drink Dry, it was incredibly scary. I've never done anything like it. The whole category, the whole non-alcoholic drinks was brand new in the region. Nobody even understood what I meant when I said non-alcoholic drinks. So like, do you mean soft drinks? No. Well, what do you mean then? So it was all very, very scary. But I knew if I just do the right thing, stay humble, stay kind, and work really, really hard, the worst thing that will happen is I will fail, but I will learn a lot of different things along the way. And actually, I probably wouldn't have even felt like I failed. So I think my early childhood particularly, but also the early years in my career really helped me to have the confidence that it will all be fine. However difficult things are going to get, however big the problems are going to get, there's always a solution and there's always another day tomorrow.
So the importance of having those strong women as role models that you were surrounded by, also for us as women to be those strong role models for our children and for the younger generation coming up, can have such a huge impact on the way they see themselves, on the way they see their own abilities. And that certainly did it for you. And as you say, that self-confidence is not something you can learn. It's there. It's what you grew up with. It's what you believed you can. And so you did. What was the motivation behind starting a non-alcoholic drinks marketplace in the UAE? As you say, no one had done it before. What was the catalyst?
It was twofold. I think one was it seemed like the most obvious business idea because nobody else was doing it. And if you're asking yourself, if it's such a good idea, why nobody else is doing it? I believe you should be the one doing it. So I think it just seemed like a really good business idea. It seemed like nobody else was doing it. And also because I gave up alcohol probably 5 years before moving to Dubai, I had all this information as a consumer in my head. I knew the brands, I knew the brand owners, I understood the category. I knew what was good, what was not good, what are the challenges, how the consumers react to the product. I knew all of it innately. And I realized that nobody else I spoke to knew a quarter of the things that I knew about the category, about the products, about the way they are made. I'm onto something here. I'm probably 10, 20 steps ahead of anybody else. Even if they have an idea, which might be exactly the same as mine, I'm probably 10 or 20 steps ahead of them because I just have all this information that I bring with me from the last 5 years. So that that seemed, why not? I mean, it seemed the most obvious thing to do. But secondly, because exactly the things I was telling you just earlier about having really strong, impressive, kind women role models mattered to me as a child. Obviously, I didn't realize that when I was growing up. Only when I moved away and I met other girls, I realized what a privilege I had been given as a child and a young girl. I have 3 little girls. At that point, they were very, very little. And I thought to myself, I was a stay-at-home mum, had been for probably 3 years. And I thought to myself, this is not me. And I do not want my children seeing me, God forbid, if I ever start resenting being a stay-at-home mum. That was my biggest challenge. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't for me. I have so much respect for women who do that and stay at home and look after their children. I couldn't do it. I found it incredibly challenging, and I didn't want my daughters seeing me resented. I wanted to set an example to them where I wanted them to see me enjoy what I do. I wanted them to see me challenged and sometimes worried and sometimes lost. I wanted them to see what it looks like when success comes your way and when you get an award, or I wanted them to see all of it, the good, the bad, and the ugly, because I think these examples really, really matter. So there was a really simple commercial business sense that I thought, this is a good business idea and I'm going to take this up. But also I had a really strong inner why. I wanted to be that role model for my own children that I was blessed to have as a young girl myself.
That's absolutely brilliant. I mean, you already had the secret sauce to starting a successful business, which is there's a gap and no one's filling it. And so you're going to fill that. But you had even a stronger, a bigger why, which is wanting to be a role model for your own daughters. I absolutely love that. Brilliant. So what were some of the challenges that you faced when launching Drink Dry, and how did you overcome them?
The better question is, what wasn't a challenge? You can imagine I came from the world of politics and research and diplomatic conversations, and I had no idea how business is run. I had no commercial sense. I had no commercial understanding. I had no idea what simple terms like value chain, margin, retail selling price. I had no idea what any of this means, let alone how it works in the world of business. Everything was a challenge. I think I had to go on this super fast training course from, daytimes were spent having meetings and trying to pitch the idea of Drink Dry. And then evening times and night times were spent in learning everything that I heard that day. I remember as clear as day saying to my husband most evenings around 8 o'clock when I was expecting my 3rd daughter then, and we would put the other to bed, we'd have dinner and it'd be kind of time to unwind. And I would say to him, you go ahead and I'll be just half an hour. I'll be just an hour and I'll be right back, because I would hear things, like I said to you, commercial terms, or I would read something. I don't understand this and I need to understand this if I am to succeed and be the best that I can be. And I would go into my office and I'd go down this rabbit hole of information and learning. And next thing I know, it'd be 3 o'clock in the morning and I'd be crawling back into bed. So there was a lot of late nights and there were a lot of long hours, but not necessarily doing the work around Drink Dry, but it was more around overcoming the challenges that I had as a first-time founder, as a first-time business owner. I simply didn't know what I didn't know. Unless I invested time and effort into myself, in upskilling myself and asking all the right questions, I wasn't going to get anywhere. So I think that was probably the biggest challenge that I had. I didn't find any other better way than just simply investing time and effort and energy into learning it. My husband has very kindly said it to a group of friends that we were with the other day. He said, Erika's like this sponge where anywhere she goes, any conversation she hears, if she doesn't understand, she will sit there and listen. She is an expert in that particular subject because she can't not know. And I take that as a huge compliment. And I think, again, that was a learning for me because I had to do that as a founder of Drink Dry, but it's now become just something I do. I don't think any business school would have ever geared me up better than just a hardcore reality check did.
And I think you sound like somebody who's super inquisitive with a real hunger to learn. So whenever you hear something new, as you say, you were willing to invest that time to go educate yourself, to get up to speed, to really understand these new concepts. I mean, a lot of self-learning during those early days of starting up. And amazing that you stuck to it and said, well, not be overwhelmed by all the things you didn't know.
I find it incredibly empowering. And I find it genuinely, the phrase, I don't know, is the phrase that I keep saying to my team. We should frame it in large print and put it in the office because it's probably one of the best phrases that you can use anywhere. How often are we all in a meeting and you can see somebody's just blagging their way through it? They have no idea what they're talking about, but they just keep on going. A much smarter way and a much better way is to say, do you know what? I don't know, but I'm going to find out and I'll get back to you on that. You move on. And I always say to the team, we started something brand new. We were a brand new business. Every single week, day, month, a project will come our way. A brand will come our way. A business opportunity will come our way that we've never done before. And none of us know how to do it. And we openly say, we don't know. But we're going to figure it out. Because once everybody drops that kind of mask of pretending, beauty happens. Everyone says, I don't know, but I think this and I believe this. Like a puzzle, you start putting it together. And then, at some point, like it's a really difficult project or task at hand, you may need an expert opinion. Like that's why we go to lawyers, right? For them to complete the contracts for us. But it's much more powerful if you go and have a conversation with your lawyer when you already have a good idea of what you want them to do, right? So I think a phrase, I don't know, it's one of the most powerful phrases that we should be using. We should be encouraging our children to use it. We should be encouraging our colleagues, employees, co-workers to use it, and we shouldn't shy away from it.
That's excellent advice, excellent insight. I love that attitude and that mindset. Humility is the key. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I love podcasts, of course. I've often heard really big podcasters, well-known names, and they're interviewing someone that's really super smart. And then that person would throw out a term and the podcaster would say, I don't understand. What does that mean? And I'm like, always so impressed that they're willing to be vulnerable, to say, I don't know. I think that's something I've learned from you today. And I absolutely love it. Drop the mask of pretending that we know everything.
But people appreciate that because, again, how many times have we all been in the room and the conversation going around and everybody's going, what does that mean? I don't know. What are they talking about? And nobody has the guts to say, excuse me, what does that mean? Could you explain?
I love that. As you mentioned, you started out all by yourself as a solo founder. Now you've grown your business to a team of 15.
17.
17, amazing. What is it that you look for when hiring a new member? And have you made any hiring mistakes?
It depends. I think I would be too naive to say I only look for personality and can-do attitude and all of these things. These are absolute key things that you look for in order for people to kind of pass into the second interview. I always do the first round of interview with anybody who's applying for Drink Dry. I say this before an interview. I'm like, I just want to feel them. Like I want to get into their soul. I want to understand what drives them. I want to understand, is it their children? What passions they have? What hobbies they have? What's their attitude? Why did they move to Dubai? What's their plan? I just want to understand them as people, therefore understand their approach to life. Are they are they problem solvers? Are they the sort of people who will sit and whinge that a problem has occurred and they're just kind of like, their shoulders will drop? Or are they the sort of people who will go, problem? Give it to me. I'll sort it out. Only the other day, I saw a little clip of Barack Obama saying, my biggest advice to a young professional who's starting out in a career is be that person who sorts things out for everyone. There's a lot of different people, strategists and opinions and consulting. People just lack that doing attitude and solving a problem and getting it done. Let's just get it done. So I look for that for sure. And I think the first few people that I hired, our office manager, my commercial director, people who joined me in the early days, they're a lot more like founders. They're kind of jacks of all trade that have a specific specialty. They're really good at lots of different things, right? And they can cope with lots of different tabs open in their head. And these are the kind of first 5, let's say, we hired. And then as we expanded and, let's say we bring in a marketing manager who's bringing her team, I need an expert in that. Me as a founder, I can do a lot of different things to a minimum. I can do a bit of marketing, I can do a bit of commercials, I can do a bit of admin, I can do a bit of sales, but I'm no expert in these things. So as we kind of scaled up, we then started looking for people who match all those things that I mentioned earlier, but also are the subject matter experts in their field, whether that's sales or supply chain or retail or marketing, but also are really roll your sleeves up and get it done attitude. We've not had any hiring mistakes. The only thing I'd say I've always been conscious of that saved me from going down that route of making a mistake is hiring people, really experienced people on big packages from big names and big companies. When you're a startup, you feel that this is the ultimate goal, to get a marketing manager from a big corporate, that works in F&B. That is amazing. It doesn't fit the startup mentality. 80% is better than nothing. It doesn't fit our mentality. And I think I've always been conscious of that. I never went down that road. I toyed with the idea, and I've interviewed a lot of different people from corporates trying to see if startup life is for them. But I genuinely believe that it isn't for everyone, and you've got to stick to what you know. And let people, if they're corporate, let them be in corporate. If they're more kind of get-goers and like finger snappers and let's get it done mentality, then I think they're the right people for a startup, and therefore right people for Drink Dry.
I think that's excellent advice. Don't try and fit somebody who's got a corporate mentality into a startup business, because they're not going to get it. It's a different type of way that you're operating to big offices and having very structured roles. The minute someone says, I need a job description, then it's almost a red flag to, this is not what we do. We are problem solvers, as you say, and finding people who are going to find the solutions, no matter what the problem is. Do you have key questions that you ask to help uncover what it is that they really are about?
I think for me, I always want to know people's whys. What is your why? Why did people move to Dubai? It's not enough to say, okay, I moved to Dubai because my husband's job took us here. And that was the initial why. But my why was, I always wanted to live in a sunny country. I've always been fascinated by the Middle East. I've always believed that the Middle East was represented in the wrong way in the West, and I wanted to experience the culture, the country, the region for myself. So this was my why I moved to Dubai. My husband's job was taking us to Dubai. And it's not just in interviews. When I meet people, I always try to uncover their whys. Why did you have children? And I ask, obviously, you don't ask these questions quite so straightforward, but I'm trying to understand people's why they do something. Why did they go into marketing? Why did they decide to work for the corporate? I think the magic happens when people don't try to give you the right answer, when they don't try to give you the polished interview type question, answer scenario. The magic happens when you ask somebody, why did you go into marketing, or why did you do this? And you give them a real answer. Then the conversation flows, and then you get to uncover something else for them. I do think business is personal. We spend so much of our time at work with our colleagues. There has to be some sort of personal life, business life link. I want to know about their family setup. I want to know if they have children. I want to know what challenges they have. I want to know how can we as a business support them, because I genuinely, hand on my heart, believe that working mothers, the more children, the better. They are my favorite type of person to recruit because they're incredible multitaskers. They can juggle lots of different things. I want to hear people's real self, and I want them to bring the real self to the interview.
I think that's so important to say. There is no right or wrong answer here. It's just, I want to hear the unpolished truth, because that helps you to get down to the core of who they are. I think earlier you mentioned something. I want to get into their soul. I think those kinds of questions are key to help to really get down to who they are as people. And that you take that interest in the interview stage shows what kind of person you're going to be when you're working with them, that you're going to care, that you're going to know who they are, and that you've brought them on for the people that they are. I love that.
When I openly share about myself, I share my why. For me, the first interview, it's not so much of an interview, it's just us meeting. Me getting to know you, you getting to know me telling you about the business, how it started, where we're going, and to see if there's a vibe, if we're vibing. In the second round of interviews, most of the time, I'm the person in the room who has least clue what's going on. I remember when we were recruiting sales team, and my commercial director set them such tasks that they had to prepare to present to us as part of the second interview, that he had to teach me before the interview what I was even looking for, because it was so complicated. It was nothing that I know. This is where I then let my team and the heads of department lead those interviews, because they know what they're looking for skills wise. But if that person gets to that second interview, it means that's it. They would be a good fit for the company, subject to them being good at their job.
The first interview, you are checking for the rapport, for the cultural fit, and then you take it to the next interview, which is more the technical side. Can they actually do the job? Can they do the things they've said on their CV? So you've got a process that you're following. And so because of that, you've built a good team, which is brilliant. Now we're going to shift gears a little bit. I know that you are a strong believer in giving back to society and you work on various charitable endeavors. Why is this so important to you?
It's the absolute core of what society is based on and should be based on, is give and take. And it does genuinely, again, go back to my childhood and the way I grew up. And I think our family, like I said to you, my grandmother was one of 9 sisters, and therefore they spread across, somebody lived in the countryside, somebody had a farm, somebody worked in a dairy factory, somebody was a doctor, a lawyer, a CEO. So they spread really wide. And the same with my mum's cousins. And I watched everybody always give and take. If we were visiting our family in the countryside, we'd come home to the city with a boot full of potatoes and pumpkins and strawberries and you name it. But if somebody needed any support in the city, we would come to rescue and we would help them. That's all I've ever seen as a child growing up. And the same with my parents' friends, the same with the family. It's a lot of give and take all the time. And you don't measure in any way who's given more, who's taken more. If you fast forward to 21st century and 2024, particularly the way we live in Dubai, we get so much. We get so incredibly much from the way Dubai is, the way the society is. We get so much by living in such an amazing place. We have opportunities. And to not give would be incredibly selfish. It would be wrong. It would set the wrong example. I'm still on a mission to give the same sense of values and moral compass and confidence to my 3 kids. That's just part of what we have to do. And you know what's proven to me, whether it's karma, whether it's your higher power, whoever you believe in, time and time and time again, what you give will come back to you with such force. If you give good will come back. If you give bad, the same thing will happen. So I'm a great believer in supporting others, and I'm a great believer in asking for help too. It goes both ways, whether it's my philanthropy and my charity work, that's the bare minimum that I can do. For me to give a bit of my time, a bit of my financial success to people who are boots on the ground, whether it's in Philippines, in Haiti, in Ethiopia, in Lithuania, people who are boots on the ground doing the hard work. If I can just send them a nice message to say, you're doing a great job. Thank you so much for looking after the children, the elderly, the single mums, whatever they're doing, to give them a bit of financial support. When I can, give a bit of my time. That's nothing. That really is nothing on the grand scheme of things. Equally, I always ask for help people too, whether that's in my world of business, or one of the things I struggle with in my personal life is keeping on top of communications from my kids' school. I have 3 kids. I have a busy job. I really struggle to keep up with what's going on, what's happening tomorrow, today. And I rely on other moms who will always come to my rescue. If I send out a message at 5:30 in the morning, 6 o'clock saying, what's happening today, I'll get a response and a smiley face and saying, you got this, Erika. It comes both ways, and maybe makes me feel less guilty when I ask for things because I know that I give back to our society. I think the right question would be, why shouldn't we be doing that? And people who aren't giving back, people who aren't contributing, should be the ones asked the question, why aren't you doing that?
I so agree with you. Giving back should be part of what we do. When we have the power, when we have the ability, when we have the time, the means to do it. I can't remember the book, but the person was saying, why wait until you are retired to give back to others when you can do it now? So every single day, that should be part of who we are. I absolutely love that mindset. Just to get to the last question in this segment, what advice would you give to aspiring entrepreneurs, especially women looking to make their mark in the industry?
I think the one that keeps coming back to me when I'm asked this question that I find the most powerful, that served me really well. Yes, of course, believe in yourself, believe in that you can do it. That comes by the by. You're not going to step into the world of entrepreneurship if you can't handle the stress that comes with it, if you can't handle criticism, if you can't handle any of that. So for me, that's the basic. But I would say build your tribe of people who will support you in every single way. For me, that comes to women. I work so well with women. I am inspired by women. I feed off them. I give back to them. It's my source of energy. Chuck me into an event full of women and I will breathe again, because this is how I grew up. Again, that comes back to how I grew up. So I'm far away from my home country. I'm far away from my own cousins, my mom's side of family. For me, building my tribe here, and for me, it's been my tribe of women. If you are in a different space, it could be tribe of people in your industry, industry. I don't know. But for me, it was just women who support each other, who will brand each other up. You know that saying, be the woman in the room who fixes the other woman's crown before everybody else noticed it. These are the kind of women I want to connect and have by my side, because I know I cannot be everywhere at all given time. But if I have a strong network and a strong group of women who will always rally me. Right now, there could be 10 women out there who are singing praises, my praises, who are singing Drink Dry's praises, who are singing praises somebody from my team without me even knowing. And that's so incredibly powerful. You can't do anything on your own. So build your tribe. I think you should try and give more than you ask for. And that's where the magic happens. When people see you as somebody who's willingly and unconditionally is giving, they will be more likely to let you into their circle and give back to you. But I would say for me, most definitely through the last 4.5 years on this entrepreneurial journey has been building my tribe of women who are my biggest ambassadors, my biggest supporters, who rally around me, who support me, who help me 100%.
Again, this comes back to what you said in the beginning, being willing to show that humility, asking for help, and then also giving to others. In this way, you are building a tribe, building your network so that you are there for each other, because it's not just a give me, I need help. It's like, what can I do to help you? And then that comes back to you again later on. So I think that's excellent advice. Now we have come to the segment of our show where I'll ask you some rapid fire questions, our version of a game show. Are you ready?
Ready.
What's your favorite part of the day?
Morning. Ideally, I will wake up at least half an hour before the whole household does. I try to get up at 5 and have a bit of time to myself, whether that's just being in bed. Sometimes I'm too tired to get out of bed, but I'm consciously awake and I'm thinking of my day. I'm setting my goals. I'm just being by myself and my thought process. I'm the most active. I'm the best version of me in the morning.
I love that. I am totally the opposite. I'm a night person, so I cannot relate to being fresh in the morning. Okay, who would be one guest you would like to invite for dinner cooked by you?
Michelle Obama.
Oh, yes, I agree. 100%.
I've always admired President Obama, and I think he was a great president. She was the real power behind him. She was the one who built his personal brand for him by building her own. She was the one who advocated the policies that had the biggest impact in domestic politics. For me, she was the real power and the force. And I don't know how many people noticed that, but I think she's really, really the strong character in their relationship. And I'm so inspired by her.
Your favorite non-alcoholic drink?
It has got to be a sparkling wine, I think, as a whole. Different occasions call for different drinks. So I think if I say which one do I drink the most, I'd say non-alcoholic sparkling wine, whether that's Natureo, French Bloom Rosé, or Intense Prestige. I do like a nice Corona Zero outside by the beach when the vibe is right. I'm learning, this is new to me, I'm learning the art of mixology. So I'm getting more and more adventurous with my non-alcoholic spirits. So whether it's a margarita or a spritz alternative, this is kind of new to me too.
You've lived in many countries. Do you have a favorite meal?
It's my mum's omelette. Morning for me is the most precious time of the day. There's honestly, I don't think there's anything that special about like my mum's omelette, but the way she makes it, she cooks it on a lot of butter. It's a bit fluffy. And if I'm eating my mum's omelette, it means I'm with her. So yeah, it's got to be my mum's omelette.
What is one thing you do every day, no matter how busy you get?
I don't know one thing consistently because I don't go to the gym every single day. One thing I strive to do consistently, I would say, rephrasing the question ever so slightly, I try to put my children to bed as often as I can. I'm working on it being a non-negotiable for me because I think that part of the day, they're 7, 5, and 3. It's so incredibly special. There's so much noise in our day. There's so much stimulation. There's so much happening in their little bodies and heads and minds. I really enjoy that last 5 to 10 minutes or 20 minutes if we're reading books of being there with them and for them at the end of the day.
That's a precious time. Lovely. Well, thank you for playing along. That was easy enough. Now we'd like to do our signature question, our green pill question. If you took the green pill to go back in time and change one thing about your journey, what would it be?
If I could go back in time and take a green pill to change one thing, I think it would be to tell my young self to trust my gut instinct a lot more. And I'll give you an example. I've always planned things and I've always stuck to them, and it always served me well. The one thing that I didn't plan in my life was to meet my husband when I was 23. In my head, I was going to meet somebody when I was 35. I'm going to start a family then, but then I will have made my career, etc. My gut instinct was saying, this is the one, this is the man. And he's turned out to be the man, the one. We've been married 12 years, got 3 kids, we've got an awesome marriage. But I really, really, really struggled to accept that I was deviating from my plan. And I think I lost a little bit of time in that moment in time where I didn't let myself go with my gut instinct. So if there was one thing that I would change, is I would go back and I would tell myself, trust your gut instinct every single time. Even if you don't think that it served you well in that moment in time, but long run, it absolutely does.
Excellent advice for yourself and for others too. Even if you have it all laid out, if you think you've got a very carefully laid plan, if there comes an opportunity, follow your gut, because it might just be the right way to go. Well, thank you so much for sharing your fantastic and inspiring story with us today. Before we say goodbye, could you please tell our listeners where they can find and follow you?
They can find us on Instagram at Drink Dry Store, and they can find us on our own e-commerce platform, drinkdrystore.com, where they will discover all the premium non-alcoholic drinks that we have to offer, and they can contact us. We love hearing from our customers, whether it's good or bad feedback or they just have questions about the products.
Erika, thank you so much again for being here. I've thoroughly enjoyed this, and I wish you and Drink Dry all the very best.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
To our listeners, if you enjoyed this episode with Erika, please like, share, and subscribe to the Matrix Green Pill podcast. Your support helps us bring you more amazing stories and insights. Until next time, take care and stay inspired.
If you enjoy our conversations, please like and subscribe. See you next Wednesday.